You can message. Aloha everyone. We're here with Senior Grandmaster Eugene Sedeno is going to share some of his story. So Senior Grandmaster, how did you get started in your journey as a martial artist?
About 1962 is when I started with Walter Godin in Kaimuki. Yeah, his school was in Kaimuki. So that's when I got started doing something other than boxing and judo. I actually started with Danzan-ryu a little before then, but again, because we moved, I was living in Kalihi when I started learning Danzan-ryu, and then about 6 months into that, we moved to Palolo Valley. So then I was learning Kaju Kembo and Kaimuki.
Right on. And you had a funny story about how it was so difficult to earn your purple belt.
Oh yeah, Godin was tough. So one day, and I was the only kid in his class. There was no kids in his class back then. Not like later, he had lots of kids. And I asked him, said, when am I going to get my purple belt test? And he looked at me and he said, Eugene. Actually, he called me Tiger. He said, Tiger, now you can say you are a white belt in Kaju Kembo. And that's not just a piece of white string holding your gi closed. So that's when I learned a lot about humility and never ever ask for tests or promotions.
Yeah. Right on. And you were also saying how you could go to all these different classes because he had them separated.
Yeah. Yeah, he had separate girls' classes and separate boys' classes. They weren't in the same class. And if you were a member of his school, because his school was open 6 days a week, and I used to go all 6 days, you could go to a class that's not yours, but you always have to stay in the back. And you were always going to be the uke. So if you go to the girls' class, you stay in the back, and when they need the attackers, you were going to be the guy that was getting hit all the time.
Which is actually a blessing. A lot of times when you're the uke, you end up through osmosis on your body learning the most.
Oh yeah, you do. The best way to learn is when they're doing it to you, because then you know, oh, that's what it's supposed to feel like. Okay.
And tell them about the slap, about making sure you wait for the slap.
Oh, yeah, our rule was, in class when you were the uke, after you do your initial attack and they're doing the counter and take you down, whatever else they do, you would never move. You know, you could try covering your face, that was about it, but you never moved until they covered, and they would hit over here really loud, so you'd hear that slap, and that meant it was safe for you to get up. Because if you didn't hear the slap and you started to move, they would jump right back on you and start beating you up again because they weren't done. They didn't tell you it was safe to get up yet.
Mm-hmm. And then after intermediate school, your family moved to Miley and you started with Brother Abe.
Yeah, that's when I started with Brother Abe, Kamahoahoa over there in Waianae. And Sid's school was like about, I don't know, 1 or 2 blocks away, not that far, in a pavilion. So I used to work out with Brother Abe, and used to work out with Sid Asuncion, and another guy by the name of John Makepa.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they were all open, like, to train you.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out great. And then, like I was telling you, back then, Brother Abe was not part of Kaju Kembo yet. So we're talking mid-60s, like 65, 64. And Sijo used to come over to try and convince him to join Kaju Kembo. He wanted him to become part of the Kaju Kembo family. So he would come several times a month, and he would teach our class. Mm-hmm. So when I was, during my high school years, I was actually being taught by Emperado himself at our school, besides Brother Abe. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I was about to graduate in 70 that it was around that time that Brother Abe finally agreed to join Kaju Kembo. So my name is under Brother Abe as one of his black belts, and it's also under Walter Godin as one of his black belts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then having trained with all those legends in the 60s, then in 1970 you left Hawaii because of the military and your service.
Yeah, that's when I joined the Army.
Mm-hmm. And then it was after that that you ended up training with Rick Alemany, right?
Actually, I started with him here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In Waianae.
Oh, that's right, in 69.
Because, yeah, in 69, he came over to train with Sid Asuncion, and because I was already training with Sid, I met Rick, and Senior Grandmaster Alemany. Um, so I've been training with him since '69.
Wow. Okay.
In fact, if you got a computer, I can pull it on my phone after this. I'll show you one quick shot of his family tree that's on the Castro main family tree. And you'll see that I'm actually his first black belt.
Wow. That is very significant. Wow. Yeah, and a lot of people don't even know that about Senior Grandmaster Alemany, about how he had all those interconnections with training with Professor Chow and training with Brother Abe and training with Sijo and with Sedeno as well, in addition to Ralph Castro and Ed Parker. You know, such a rich martial history.
Yep, he trained with all those guys and got ranked by all of them. In fact, one of his great certificates, I forget if it was a third or a fifth, but it's signed by, I think Sid gave it to him. It has Sid, and I think it has Brother Abe's signature, and I think it has Sijo's signature, all on the same certificate.
Yeah, I know he has one like that from Professor Chow, and then famously he was one of those few people that visited and trained with Professor Matose.
Yep, we got that in common too.
That's right, and one being at his first black belt, you would definitely have been at the nucleus of all of that. In fact, Senior Grandmaster Eugene was running the classes for SGM Rick when he was doing the film The Killer Elite.
Yep, he was busy for a while working on that, doing stunts. Plus his name's on there because he was one of the actors. His face is in the movie. He was training James Caan how to fight with a cane. So he was pretty busy on that thing. So he was in the stunts, his name's mentioned, and kept him busy. So I was running the school. We had day classes and night classes. So I was running all that so he could focus on the movie.
Yeah, and you were telling a funny story about how he would show up to class still in costume.
Yeah, one day especially, because in the movie, if you ever see that movie, the original one, because they made two, the one with James Caan and Robert Duvall, Killer Elite, there's a scene in there where this old Chinese gentleman gets shot up with a machine gun. You know, it's an old guy with a long beard, and when they did that shot, that was actually Rick Alemany, and he was all in costume when they shot him, so he had all of the bullets flying off of him and stuff. And then he showed up to class. He was exhausted, but he showed up just to see how things were going, and he still had that long beard, and I think he still had the Chinese coat on, but I remember he still had a long, scraggly Chinese beard, and his hair was all messed up. But it was pretty cool. And when I saw the movie, I knew exactly what scene that was because I saw him that day.
And you were also sharing earlier about how with many of your teachers, with Professor Godin and with Sijo and with Sedeno and with Uncle Rick, one of the things you liked was the freedom that you had.
Yeah, they were all for you learning different things. They weren't so strict that no, you can only learn this and you can't learn anything else. So they were all open to still doing other training, boxing, judo, whatever you picked up. I was learning Okinawan weapons, and they thought it was great. They all said the same thing. No, go do that. He said, but if there's something good, bring it back and share it with us. And you can't miss out on your training there also, because you were still active, so you couldn't fall behind. But that was the only concern. They liked it if you went out and learned different things. They were totally wide open to it. Sijo's main thing that he told all of the black belts was be creative. You know, keep Kaju Kembo as your root, but you can learn other things and you can be creative and pick up other disciplines and come up with some things by yourself, but don't lose your Kaju Kembo roots. That's what kept all of us together, was the basic Kaju Kembo.
Now, remember that from childhood, that with my teacher, George Iverson, I was curious to learn the roots of Kaju Kembo, the Ka for karate, the Ju for judo and jiu-jitsu, the Ken for kempo, and the Bo for boxing and kung fu. And he encouraged me, but he said, yeah, but 3 things. 1, don't forget where you came from. Don't quit the school. Stay with Kaju Kembo. 2, finish what you start. Actually earn a black belt. Don't go and then only do part of it. Really do all the way. And 3, come back and show me what you learned. So it was very meaningful to me that you shared that you had that same kind of experience in your journey of, you know, being able to do both of those at the same time, of honoring where you came from, but also constantly trying to make it better and being creative and continuing to grow your art.
Yeah, that's why I stayed with those specific teachers, because they were open that way. You know, they didn't hold it against you. They kind of liked the fact that, yeah, go learn something else, but, you know, bring back some of that good info. You know, because, you know, all styles, nobody likes everything. And there's some things you really like, so it worked out all around.
Awesome. Any words of wisdom for our students out there and other people that would maybe hear this interview?
Hey, practice hard, enjoy what you learn. You know, don't be afraid to ask questions, and basically enjoy it. If you don't like what you're doing, you should do something else. Find something you like. I'm a firm believer that in martial arts, you got to find the style that you like, because then you'll practice hard and you'll grow with it. If somebody's forcing you to do something that you don't like, you're kind of just wasting your time and everybody else's time. But hey, there's good stuff in every style. You just got to know which one you want.
Mahalo nui loa. We come in peace. We look for and see the good in others. We train in mutual respect. Mahalo nui loa.
Yep, thank you.